Hello, I'm Bobby Kavna, and I am going to be doing a demo of transportation analysis using simulation in TransCad and TransModeler. And so the first thing I'm going to do to get started is I'm going to get some starting data, and I'm just going to do a search here for Tiger files. And I can get those pretty easily from census.gov. So I will go in here and I'm going to get a little bit older year because the format's a little bit more friendly for our starting layer. And I'm going to go to the FTP archive, and I am going to look for Indiana because that's where I am. And I've got a map here, which is helpful, that shows the FIPS codes for Indiana, which for my county is here 18057. So I'm going to try to remember that number and look for it here, 18057. And I'm going to download this file. That'll just take a second. And so that should be my download folder now, which it is. I can see it here. And I can import this zip file directly into TransCad. So I'm going to go and open the software here and just open my file and navigate to my download folder. And I have to select the file type actually, so I'm going to look for Tiger files for the file type, if I can find it in this list. Here it is. And then just click on that, and TransCad just can read this in automatically. So I'm going to hit OK here. And I need to save this. So I'm going to save it back in my downloads folder. I'm just going to call this my starting data. And this will, I'm going to add a lot of things onto this layer. So this is just really the seed that I'm starting with here. And you can see that TransCad has brought in this map, and this is, if I can grab it here, this is the county where I live, Hamilton County, and I am interested in doing traffic analysis for my neighborhood because I often find myself stuck in traffic in my neighborhood, and so I'm interested to try to explore some of the issues that I run into on a daily basis. So to make this a little bit more manageable, I'm going to select a subset of this data here, and we've been trying to work with 1,000 nodes. So like where the lines intersect here, you can see if I click those on, there's a kind of a little dot in between the streets, which are represented just by a line right now, and they're connected by these nodes. And so just to make our simulation more manageable, we've been trying to select about 1,000 nodes, which I've been looking at this area here from about 146th Street approximately down to a little lower than 106th Street. And I've just been looking between Meridian and Keystone. And for those of you who have been in Carmel, you'll know there are 120 roundabouts in Carmel. We're known as the roundabout capital of the world. And so I'm selecting this particular area because I know firsthand that there's a lot of roundabouts in this section that I wanted to analyze. So I selected this area here, and I'm hoping that's about 1,000 nodes. I'm going to zoom in here. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to export this, and I'm going to create a geographic file from this. So I'm selecting geography here, and you see it's going to just export my selection. So I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to give that a name. I'm going to actually I'm going to select a standard geographic file there. I'm going to hit OK here, and I'm going to just call this Carmel data because now I've kind of honed in on my Carmel area that I want to look at. Okay, and then I'm actually going to close TransCad. I mainly needed TransCad for the starting data. Okay, so now I'm going to go into TransModeler, and I'm going to open the data that I saved from TransCad. So I go into my downloads folder, and I have to select the appropriate file type, which is in this list. And then I can get my Carmel data here that I just exported. And you can see it's just got this this section, which is going to be a little bit more manageable to work with than the whole Tiger file that I brought down. And so once I'm in here, I can bring in some imagery, which makes it a little bit more helpful to view. I'm going to bring in, just for a start, Google Map. And this one makes it really easy to see the street names. So you can see up here, starting at 146th, that's where my line layer that I brought in for my starting data, that's where it really starts here. And going down to 106th, you'll see it kind of trails off down here, and then it's in between Spring Mill and Keystone. Spring Mill, there's not a label here, but that's what this street is. This is really the area that I was interested in looking at. And so this just makes it clear what streets that I'm seeing. Another thing that is helpful to look at is the satellite imagery. So if I bring in Google Satellite, that's really helpful for when I start looking really close. So if I really want to zoom in on that intersection with 1/16th and Spring Mill, I can see a lot more details with my satellite imagery here. And this is helpful because I'm wanting to look at these roundabouts, and you can see them here. So the starting data I brought in just represents the streets with a line. So you can see here, this is just like a logical representation. And so it doesn't really have all the details about really what the streets are like in that area. And so the satellite imagery, it really helps me to see that. So just with this small amount of starting data, I can already do a simulation here. If I create a new simulation, I can just select this data that I've been working with. I'm clicking use current map here, and I have to give it a name. And I'm just going to select my Tiger file there for my lookup table. And you can see it's already filled in the simulation streets. So if I look even closer, and these here are misaligned a little bit, but I can go in and fix this. So you can see it starts putting in even more details about like the lanes, the intersections, and these are what my simulation is really gonna show is the interactions in these intersections. And so we need this detail about the actual roads to do that. So it's just going to bring these in right away just based on that starting layer that I had. And I'll do more to change these, like to get this lined up better and to actually like make the roundabout type of intersection here. But you can see just with this information, you can already start a basic simulation. I do have to add some starting assumptions, one of which is I have to kind of assign some volumes to this map, and so I'm creating what's called a trip matrix here, and I have to name that, of course, like everything. And so this gives me just the basic assumptions of like how many cars are going to be coming from each starting location, ending location. You can see here those nodes that I highlighted in the beginning that connect the streets. They are all given IDs here. And so this matrix is going to provide starting assumptions for how many cars are coming like from these nodes to these nodes. And right now I'm just going to fill this in with random data. And I'm hoping to get a little bit more sophisticated with this in a later step. But for right now, just to make things easy, I'm just going to fill this with a random number, whatever kind of scale I want it to have. I've been using kind of a large scale here, which is multiplying it by 100, but that was just to get a lot of cars where I could see the cars more easily. It does take a little bit longer, but I'm just going to click OK here. You can see it's filled in numbers now, so like the simulation is gonna run 23 vehicles from this starting node to this ending node. And so those are my assumptions that I can already start a simulation with. So if I begin this, it's gonna generate some details around those assumptions, and then you can see that it doesn't really take a lot for this to start showing simulated traffic. I'm just going to give it a minute here. I'm going to pause for a second while it calculates, and then resume here in a second. Okay, so my simulation finished calculating. So I'm going to hit resume here. And you can see it's already, just with the little amount of data I've put in, it's already able to get a really quick start here with just showing how some actual traffic moving through this location might look. And as I've mentioned, I'm going to come back and fix these streets. It still does need a little fine tuning, but you can see here just kind of the pre-built functionality that's there that helps to just give a really quick start. So I'm going to pause this for a second, and I'm going to go in here and adjust some of my assumptions for the simulation. So one of the things we can do is we can select the type of vehicles, the number of each type of car that are going to be represented. So one thing I did was I reduced the number of like big trucks because we don't really see a lot of those coming through our neighborhood. And so you can adjust the types of vehicles. There's a lot of settings in here to kind of fine tune what's included in the model. Another thing is that you can adjust the driver behavior. So one thing I did was I made the drivers a little bit more aggressive because I've found that to be my experience that drivers in Carmel are not as polite as in other areas where I've lived. So one thing was yielding. I adjusted these starting assumptions to give a lower chance that drivers would yield to each other. So there's a lot of things like that you can do to kind of fine tune the behavior. But now I'm gonna take a minute to adjust some of these streets, and you can see how we can dial this in even more. I'm gonna end the actual simulation, and I'm gonna go in and look at some of the ways that I can edit this to make it line up here a little bit better. So I'm going to look for my road editing toolbar. If I can find it here, editing. Let's see. Here we go. The road editor. There's a little bit of a learning curve to the software, but it does become familiar eventually. So one thing I can do is I can separate some of these. So that's one thing I'll need to do here so that I can put my roundabout in instead of the standard intersection. So I'm just going to take the intersection out that's here. Like I said, there's a little bit of a learning curve. I'm getting used to this a little bit, but it does take some getting used to. Okay, so I've gotten my intersection mostly out of the way there. And then what I can do is when I've removed what was already there, then I can add something a little bit different, which is my traffic circle. Another thing that I'm going to do here is move this segment to be closer to where it should be. So I'm going to move this guy over here, this one over here, and these, you know, I've got a whole city here that I can map these roads and, you know, really make this realistic. For now, I'm just going to do a little bit here to where we can see the functionality. So I'm going to grab a traffic circle here, and you can see there's a lot of assumptions that you can select. So the number of lanes, I can set those to 2 lanes, which is what is actually present at that intersection. For now, I'm just going to leave it as 1 for simplicity, because right now all of these roads are showing 1 lane, and I did for my next steps originally go and set all of these to 2 lanes. I did take some time to do that, so right now I'm not going to get into that, but you can see that option is there. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here and try to connect these again. So I'm just going to try and break this where I need to connect the other street in there. This is a little bit tricky to get used to, but let's see. Go ahead and connect this one since I've got that one where I want it. So you can see it's gone and connected these roads. So there's a lot of steps if I want to go and, you know, create the whole area the way it is now. I'm just going to show a little bit of that, but it does go faster than I would have expected it to. Maybe a couple hours and I was able to fill out this area. So there's a little work involved, but you know, for what the ending result is, it's really not bad. So I'm just going to stop again here for a second, and I'm going to jump ahead to after I did some of that editing, what I ended up with. Okay, so this is the way that my streets looked after I was able to spend a little bit more time building them out the way they actually are in real life. So you can see I've gone back and added the lanes, and I've connected the roundabouts with the other streets here. And so you can see if I start my simulation now again, that Immediately, this is really helpful for just visualization purposes. One of the first things I could see when I looked in here was that these cars were getting backed up on this intersection. And, this is exactly what I was hoping to find out, because one of the advantages of roundabouts is supposed to be that, traffic doesn't stop, which helps with emissions and other things. But, so looking at this, it may support that idea that, traffic's getting backed up in the four-way stop where it's not in the roundabout. However, the next thought that immediately came to mind was that, well, you really have to take into account both of these intersections together, because it may be that the fact that traffic is not stopping in the roundabout is causing this other intersection to get overloaded. There is going to be some interaction between these two. So I think that's a pretty basic concept in traffic analysis, that you have to consider the interaction between all of these streets together. However, what I wanted to point out is how just this visualization can really help to drive that point home, for audiences who may not be familiar with traffic analysis. The other thing is that you can kind of see here in the imagery, in real life, both of these intersections are roundabouts. But I only created one as a roundabout for now, because what I wanted to be able to do was look at with the roundabout and without it. So my thought was I can have this as a four-way stop, and then I can go back and change it to a roundabout to see how the simulation changes. So that's one of the advantages here with the simulation software, is that you can, look at the same intersection and change it and see how the traffic changes. So the hypothetical is something that can be built out and assessed. So that's a really interesting capability of this software. However, I'm going to stop the simulation now and show another functionality besides just the visualization, which is you can actually get data out of these simulations also. And one way that I'm going to do that is I'm going to add a sensor. So I'm going to select the sensor and select where I want to put that on the road, and just hit OK here. And then I just have to save my changes, which is the main part I think I was missing before. So if you look here, you can see now there is a sensor. And so I can get the data that the sensor records at the end of my simulation, so that I can get something a little bit more tangible to work with than just the visual. Okay, so now what I've done is I've gone ahead and let the simulation run so that I can get the output from the sensors I created. I also went back and changed the way the sensors are labeled so they're a little bit easier to see. So what happens is that if you select on the project settings that you want the output from these sensors, you can check that here. And then after your simulation runs, you can go into your output manager here, and you can get a report. So here's the types of summaries that you can look at, and you can see there's sensor data, and there's these point sensor data reports, And if I hit the matrix here and give that a name, then it'll bring up my output from those sensors. So you can see here the different sensors and the statistics that I've selected to include. You can select different types of statistics to include with the sensors. For now, I'm looking at the average flow because I'm interested in that traffic that we saw being backed up. I'd like to be able to get some numeric output here to go along with that. But you can look at different statistics here. You just have to set up the options however you want to look at it. But this is the basics. Another thing is that getting back to visualization, you can actually do this in 3D, and which gives a really powerful visual effect. So I'm going to stop this now and come back and talk a little bit more about the 3D aspect here in a second. Okay, so here's a little bit more about the 3D functionality that's in this software. I won't be able to show all of it here because I don't have access to it on this particular computer, but it's pretty straightforward once you know where to look. It's pretty easy to get up and running with it. The first thing I did was I started with my simulation just in 2 dimensions, and I came over here to this 3D window and just selected to start my 3D viewer. It takes a minute to load, so I'm not going to do that again here. But then that brought up this window, and what happens is if you just have the 2D, then it'll show your cars in 3 dimensions, but it doesn't show anything around the roads. And so you can actually add other 3-dimensional objects here, like these trees, and that's pretty easy to do. You just kind of drag it in from this window here. You can pick different kinds here. I'm going to pick an alder, and so you can place realistic features in the visualization to kind of help bring it more to life. So another thing I can do is I can add buildings. And so I've already done a lot of this here. You can see that I've added a building here. And what I did was I brought in the Google Map layer, like you can see here in the 2D, and I just kind of laid buildings over where it showed in the background imagery. And that way, when this simulation runs, it will show that the building actually in 3 dimensions versus just this flat depiction from the Google Maps. So this is pretty cool. Another thing you can do is you can rotate these. So, like these cars, if I pull a car in, it's not necessarily going to face it in the direction that I want. So like if I put it in here, we'll zoom in so you can see it's, facing this way. So there's a lot of other functionality here to be able to move it around. So I can edit it and I can move it like this way or this way. I can rotate it. So if I want it to face a different direction, I can do that. And so once you get the basic 3D objects in there, you can change them quite a bit to match whatever realistic imagery you're trying to accomplish. So that's a little bit about the 3D. Like I said, it takes some time, but it's pretty straightforward once you just get used to it. I'm gonna try to see if I can turn on some of these other features here. That might just take another second here. I'm gonna give it a pause and see if I can bring up more of this imagery that I've already created there. Okay, so here what I'm going to try to do to show a little bit more of this is I'm going to try to open a file that I've already configured here. So I'm going to go to 3D, start 3D viewer, and click yes here to pick up the work I've already done to build this out. So I'm going to open this configuration file here, and one thing that this has is the background imagery. That's a setting that you can check when you open your 3D model when you first create it. If I wasn't opening up a pre-existing one here, you can add this background as one of the layers, and so that just like even though it's two-dimensional, it does kind of help the three-dimensional objects that you add to just kind of blend in a little bit more and look more realistic. So you can see here where I had drug that building in. Now it also shows the like pavement around it and stuff. And so then what you can do is you can also get different like points of view. And normally you can do that by dragging this map, which I can't do on this particular computer here because I've remoted into the server. But I've set up some flight paths here, which once you get the perspective you're looking for, the angle that you want on this by dragging, you can create these flight paths, and so you can save those angles. And you can make a video that kind of it moves in between these viewpoints. So you see that one I've saved is from this angle here. The next one I've saved is from this angle here. And I can set the amount of time that I want the simulation to spend at each viewpoint. So like I said, this is just functionality that really allows for some super cool visuals. If I do a preview here, you can see how it will move throughout those different perspectives that I've shown. So like I said, that's a real powerful visual. And then once I get my simulation running, you can just see more about how the traffic actually interacts with the surrounding area a little bit more. I'm not sure if I can start that simulation here or not. I do have it on a video that I can bring up in a second, so I'm just gonna pause this again and see if I can get a better view of this. Okay, so here what I've done is I went and I just started in the two-dimensional simulation. I hit run on that, and then came back to my 3D window here, and so you can see now here the simulation has actually got the three-dimensional cars with their simulated behavior in here now. So that just shows a little bit more the interactions. That car there looks like he's stuck, but So you can see how this all comes together. I've come in here and created a nighttime sky too. There's all types of settings that you can change in here. And so you can see here's my different viewpoints again with the cars in there, with the different sky settings. So this is pretty cool, all the things you can set up in here. So this is just a start for me for now, but those are the basics, and I look forward to hopefully creating some more sophisticated analysis using this software, and I hope that you get a chance to do that too.